Hey guys, me again. Something happened to this camera stand here. It's like there we go. It's like I'm over here or something. Maybe it's my neck. Maybe it's not the camera. Maybe it's my neck. There. You know, I've been watching the news a lot lately. I read the news every day, and you know, I've wondered something for a while, and it's made me think about this some more. See things happen like this. You know, you've always seen these news reports these days about people getting killed, somebody shooting somebody. You know, the thing in Colorado at the theater, that was really, really terrible. And recently, this 17-year-old kid was arrested for murdering his 10-year-old neighbor, little girl. And you know, of course, we think back to the Columbine thing in Colorado. The guys went in and shot the place up. And of course, the guy at Virginia Tech back in 2007. And you see all this, and it makes me wonder, without saying this callously or meanly, it makes me wonder, where in the world did all the psychos come from all of a sudden? You know, it just seems like you didn't hear this back in the 70s and the early 80s, and you know, on through the 80s. You know, of course, there's always been people that have done things like this, but I just wonder, where have these people come from all of a sudden? It seems like more and more and more of this is happening. You have adults that are doing these things, and you have these 15, 16, 17-year-old kids that are just going on a murderous rampage, you know. And I think there's several possible reasons for it. I think that, you know, I think one thing, I think parenting and parents have changed in recent years. You know, everyone, I'm looking at pictures of my own parents here as I'm saying this, but there's all different kinds of levels of parents. You know, there's good parents, there's exceptional parents, there's mediocre parents, and there's parents that are rotten. You know, and that's just how it is in society. But I think as life has gotten more involved and people have gotten more busier, you know, I think that's had a lot to do with it. Parents don't, it seems like people in general these days, you know, the more there is to do, it seems like a certain segment of the population is bound and determined that they're going to do everything there is to do. They're never going to just have quiet nights at home with a family if they can help it. They're always going to be going somewhere, doing something, on a trip, working, whatever it takes, you know. And so I think the quality time with the family and knowing what's going on with your kids, in some cases, is lacking, and that has a lot to do with it. When you're okay as a parent with being in the house watching some TV or doing whatever you're doing, talking on the phone, and you're okay with your kid locked away in the bedroom every day, all evening, and you don't know what's going on in there, you know. And I understand that kids have right to, as they get older, they have right to privacy, but when you choose not to interact with your kids like that and keep tabs on what's going on with them, I mean, you have that right. If they live in your house and they're under 18, you have absolutely right to know what they're up to. They're still a minor child. If you don't know this and you're okay with that, then I think that's a lot of what's causing this, because, you know, this day and age we have so much information, good and bad, that's available to anybody on the internet and all that kind of, mainly the internet. And I think that probably people down through history have always, you know, there's always been people that are disgruntled and mad at the world, and mad at their fellow workers, and mad at their excuse me, mad at their fellow students or whatever, you know, and they have these thoughts of retaliation. It was that, you know, when I was in school in the 1980s, you know, I was just a middle of the pack student. I had middle of the road friends. I wasn't the most popular, wasn't the most unpopular, but you know, there's just always, it's like that in school. You always got picked on, and you know, and make you mad and upset and everything like that. And I understand that, you know. Well, just about all of us that weren't the king and queen of the class went through that stuff. But you know, the difference here is that we didn't have in that time, we didn't have the internet to come home and scan through and figure out where to buy guns and find these people that are lurking in these dark depths of the internet that have the same issue, and they're, you know, they're thinking of ways to get back at people. You know, we didn't have that. All you did is go home and watch TV and just got over it. You know, I mean, you may still be mad, but you know, it didn't keep that idea going. It didn't foster those ideas, those kind of ideas. And you know, you read about this, but everybody says, oh, where did they get the guns at? There's laws that they're not supposed to be able to get guns. Well, being a teenager and being a kid, if you want to do something, you can figure out how. It ain't that hard, you know. Parents these days, in some cases, are guilty of sticking their heads in the sand. They don't want to pay attention to stuff like this. They don't want to think that their kids can get access to guns and other stuff. They just don't want to think about it. Oh, he's a good kid. It can't happen. You're crazy too. Kids, like I said, I've been a kid. I speak from experience. We've all been kids. And kids, especially teenagers, when you want to do something, you'll figure out a way to sneak around and do it. That's just how it is. So, you know, so I think that's been a part of this. You know, and you know, the thing about the kids that are killing other kids, little kids, taking them off, and you know, that's horrible. And there again, I think those kind of, you know, everybody has, you know, everybody's going to have ideas rattling around in their head from time to time, you know. And usually, if you're a healthy person, you know what ideas are good, and you know which ones that are absolutely not good, and you just never go there anymore. I mean, you know, that's just how it is. So, you know, I can't begin to understand how somebody that's not even an adult yet can choose to follow through on doing some kind of act that is so despicable and so horrible. I mean, where does it come from? You know, I just don't understand it. It's scary. It really is. It's scary because, you know, another thing is, back in the day, you know, they've passed all these laws now. You know, you just about can't whip a kid anymore because if they do something wrong, corporal punishment. You know, there's because of these people that have been abusive of their kids, it's caused these laws to be passed that, you know, if any kid feels like his parent has abused him, there's these hotlines you call and report it. You know, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but the problem is people won't whip their kids anymore because they I'm sure in some cases are afraid that they're going to be retaliated against, and the cops or somebody's going to show up at the door and try to arrest them for whipping their kids. You know, because kids, you know, kids are kids, and they don't want to be in trouble. They don't want to be whipped. But you know, my dad and myself and my brother, when we were growing up, you know, if we did something wrong, buddy, we got warmed up, and you can't just talk to children all the time about everything they do wrong. It comes a time where, you know, you can't just talk and correct them. You have got to follow through with it. You know, if they don't listen to you first time, okay, talk to them. Don't listen to you the second time, talk to them. Third time with us, buddy, that was it. Um, we were lucky we never got a belt. We didn't get whipped with a belt, and my dad was not too. He was not too keen on whipping kids, but uh, our our babysitter, who she's a long time lady, worked with years and years and years. She's just like a mother to us. She'd get a switch after you, and sometimes that's just what it takes to get kids' attention, you know. Because you only talk to them, they're gonna blow that off. They know you're not gonna do anything. So that's been a part of it also. I think that kids don't have the respect for their parents anymore that they used to. And I think a bunch of you all know what I'm talking about. They just don't. I've been in lines in the store and have a kid backtalk his mother or something like that, and she just ignores it. She just doing her thing, or maybe the dad's there and he just ignores it, just paying for their grocery. And they always give the old countdown. You do that again, I'm going to do this. You do that again, I'm going to do this. And I'm not trying to get off on a big tangent about parenting, but if I had a kid, I'm not saying I would beat him or anything like that, but if I had a kid and he was disrespectful like that, especially in a public place like that, he'd get his rear end warmed up all the way out the door. And I mean, that's just, you don't put up with stuff like that. That's how kids get on this path of not respecting their elders. They think they can do anything they want to do. No, what's the word I'm looking for? No price to pay for whatever they do. And that's, they never think about it. So yeah, I worry about this, and especially when it comes down to adults that do this stuff too. Here in Huntsville, I'm sure a lot of you have read this about that professor that that Amy Bishop, that she just got sentenced for murder. She was in a committee meeting over here at the college, and she had been denied tenure. Those of you may not know what tenure is. That's basically, it's kind of a guarantee that you can keep working as a teacher. In other words, it's like you can't be fired except for extreme cause. Anyway, she got denied tenure, and so she's all stewed on, I guess, and evidently she was off her, I hate to use this word, but she's off her rocker anyway, and that's probably why she didn't get tenure. People that are off somehow, they never realize that other people can catch on to it. People that aren't mentally unstable, we can see that pretty quick. When somebody's saying something or doing something that's out there, it's obvious. It's obvious. So, and unfortunately, mental illness is not something to joke about. And people that have it, they just don't. They're not capable of realizing that maybe they're mentally ill. In a lot of cases, they may know something's going on, but lots of times that lady, I'm sure she thought she was perfectly normal, and that her solution to her issues was to do what she did. She probably thought that was fine. So anyway, I would suggest strongly, that if you have kids, you need to spend time with them. You need to know what they're doing. I don't. Some people go so far as to take the door off their kids' rooms, but wouldn't do that. But you need to know what they're up to, and you need to be proactive. If you see a kid wearing black all the time, that's not just a phase. You need to know what that's about, and you need to stop it. I'm not going to be around the bush. You need to know what your kid's doing. You need to not try your hardest to be on the road out doing something just because you don't want to sit at home with your children and your family. You need to be at home doing what you need to do to be a part of your family. People work so much now, I guess, to make money. That's become the overarching thing with people now, is they want to be rich, they want to have plenty of money, work, 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 work. And I tell people that I know that do that, I say, you know what, I hope that you're going to be a millionaire pretty soon, because if you're not, it wasn't worth it. There's not any amount of money. Well, there is, but the amount of money that normal people end up with during their lifetime, it is not worth it. To work 50 hours a week and never hardly see your family, never hardly see your kids, it is not worth it. You may think it's worth it. It's not. It's not, because you're either going to end up with your kids hardly knowing you when they get older. You hardly knowing them, or if you're not that lucky, one of them may have some issues like these folks in the news have, and something bad happens, and you're going to say, well, I just didn't know anything about it. Just didn't know anything about it. I like the internet. I really do. I use the internet every day, but I think in several ways it's not been a good thing for people, especially younger people. It's not been a good thing for people who are already prone to instability mentally. I think it's just a way to reinforce bad ideas and make ideas that people would normally not think of doing. You can, if you get enough people to agree with you, then even a bad idea sounds like something good after a long enough time. So yeah, I worry about this. I don't think we've seen the end of this. I think there's going to be more of this happen. Adults, kids. It's just what the world is coming to, and you can get into these these theories about end of times and all that. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not a end times fanatic or anything like that. But it's just to touch briefly on the last thing about this. There's an old saying goes, guns don't kill people, people kill people, and that's absolutely true. But I support the right to bear arms. I don't think anybody should be told whether they can have a gun or not. That said, there's been many instances that there were guns in the house and little kids either shot one another accidentally because they were playing with a gun or whatever, or one of the kids decided he was going to go on a rampage and got the guns from the house. And that's having a gun collection is something everybody should have a right to do, but I don't, it's up to the parents to police this type of a thing. If you have a gun collection, I'm sure the guns can be made to not function. I'm not a gun expert, but I know there's several components to a gun, and they obviously all have to be there for the thing to work. So, I think the point of having a gun collection anyway, for the most part, would be to be able to look at them in a cabinet, say, hey, I've got this gun, this is this kind of gun, that kind of gun, I've got one of those, these are rare. That's cool, but you don't need to have the whole things all loaded and stacks of ammo underneath it where kids or somebody just come in there and get it and take off with it. That's just my opinion. I know there's people not going to agree with that, but I'm just not a gun person that way. I have one for personal protection, but I personally just don't see the attraction in it. But that's all I'll say about that. So anyway, guys, I've talked quite a while here, so the camera is going to turn off and start a new clip in about 40 seconds. So let me end this up. Thanks again for watching, and rate, comment, subscribe. Always good to hear from you. Have a good one.